Hello and welcome back to another one of my FPL videos. Now in this video I'm going to be doing a wildcard team ahead of game week 9. Now if you ever watch any of my videos you know I did wildcard in game week 8 and I'm telling you now it didn't work out great for me. But I'll let you know in my team selection video next week how I got on, but it weren't great. But if you are thinking about wildcarding, particularly in game week 10 where I know a lot of people are thinking about doing it then, I personally would recommend maybe going a game week earlier than game week 10 just because the price rises are crazy at the minute. You could miss out on some plays by the time game week 10 comes around. And game week 9, there are some decent fixtures to look at for that week. So I think it'd be beneficial for you to go a week earlier than waiting, obviously, to game week 10. So let's go through the team then. As you can already see on screen anyway, I've got the goalkeepers up here. So I've gone for a Martinez-Turner combination, something a little different. I've got Martinez in goal here at 4.9 million. Now, I know a lot of people aren't really looking at him. They're going for more like an Areola guy instead, which I can understand why. Aston Villa, I mean, yeah, I know they've only actually got 2 clean sheets for the season, which is actually disappointing, but I do think in the next 4 fixtures they can get 3 clean sheets, a minimum, I reckon. So yes, West Ham at home is tough, but it is at home to be fair. Then they've got Luton at home, so that's 2 home games back to back, which is good. Forest away, it should be a little tough, bit of a derby there, but I do think they could come away with one there. And then Fulham at home, also a doable clean sheet game there. Now, game week 13 is a little tough for him. He has got Spurs, but then 14, he's got Bournemouth. So you're looking at a possible 5 clean sheets there. He's got a good chance of getting 5 clean sheets there anyway. Now, like I said, they have been disappointing in clean sheets. If you look at their fixtures they've had, or the results they've had, I should say, Wolves, they conceded 1. Brighton, they conceded 1. Crystal Palace conceded 1. Burnley 1. It's a little frustrating, really. They just keep conceding that 1 goal. Hopefully, sooner rather than later, they'll nip that in the bud, and then the clean sheets just keep flowing. And usually, Martinez in the past has been like a save point bonus kind of guy. He's only got it twice so far this season, but I do think that's obviously because Aston Villa are a better team. But even then, when shots come his way, I do think he'll get you save points as well. So I think it'll be a great little differential because let's face it, I mean, he is only 6.8% owned right now. And like I said, everyone's going for somebody else in Areola. So yeah, I think he's worth a little punt to go for. Now, the other keeper I've got on here is Turner, who I myself have got in my team. Just purely based on the fact that he's still their number 1 goalkeeper. We all thought, I thought he was going to get dropped in the last game, even though I still picked him, but I went for the gamble anyway. He's 4.1 million now, but he was a 4.0 million goalkeeper that was starting. At 4.1 million starting, you can't complain. Next fixture is Luton, so out of the 2, I would start him. And I know after that his fixtures are a little tougher until game week 14, but that's when Villa's changed and theirs is tougher. So you got a good switch around there. So I do think that is a good combination for the next several weeks. So then with the defence then, so it would be a back 3 if I went with this team personally. And I've got some heavy hitters there at the back as you can see. So first up, I've got Kieran Trippier, who is in my team. And I only bought him in like 3 game weeks ago. And he's 6.5 mil then. He's now already 6.9 million. So like I was saying earlier about going on your wildcard sooner rather than later. At this rate, Kieran Trippier could go up to like a 7.2 million by the time you actually decide to wildcard in game week 10, especially if he has a good performance against Crystal Palace in game week 9. So like I said, Kieran Trippier, he's been absolutely smashing it in the last few weeks, so that's why obviously his price has risen so much. Obviously, you've got your 18 points against Sheffield, you've got your 12 points against Burnley, 6 points against West Ham, and even before the Sheffield United fixture, he also got your 8 points against Brentford. So the guy in the last 4 game weeks has absolutely smashed it. He's at home against Crystal Palace, so at St James's Park as well in the next game. You can pretty much guarantee it's going to be a decent haul of points again in game week 9. So you want to get on Trippier sooner rather than later. And then game week 10 is also a nice fixture. Is it going to be against Wolves away? Yes, they've got Arsenal game week 11, but this fixture is going to be at home. And then 12, they've also got Bournemouth. So they've got a good run of fixtures still coming up, Newcastle. So I definitely recommend going for Trippier. Now, he is a bit pricey, so yeah, I get if people go for Fabian Schär or Dan Burn. But for me, I'm a Kieran Trippier kind of guy. The guy is an assist absolute king. he's a bonus point king as well as that as well. Because let's face it, yes, he didn't keep a clean sheet against West Ham. They conceded 2 goals, right? And he only got 1 assist. And yet he still comes away with 2 bonus points. Nobody else does that. So that's why you go for Kieran Trippier. Because yes, he's cost a bit more, but the guy seems to always get you extra points out of nowhere. So yeah, I'll definitely go for him. Obviously, I've got Trent Alexander-Arnold in here. 7.9 million. Very pricey as well. He's just come back from his injury. Obviously, he played a good amount of minutes against Brighton. What was it, 79 minutes? Pretty decent to be fair. I mean, yes, he didn't get a whole of points. He only got that 1 point. But let's look at these fixtures coming up then, shall we? Everton at home. I mean, yes, it's a big derby game, obviously, for them. But this is going to be at Anfield. Everton just can't seem to score goals very often. I can't see anything less than a clean sheet here for Trent. And can you believe he's only 8% owned? This is probably the lowest I've ever seen him owned, ever. So he's practically now a differential. So yeah, I think that's great. Game week 9 fixture. Game week 10, again they're at home. So that's 2 back-to-back home fixtures. This time it's against Forest. Forest are more of a home kind of team than they are of a away kind of team. So they're kind of different teams that way. So I think it'll be a much easier fixture there. Luton away is game week 11. Great fixtures to have there. I mean, 12 and 13 is tough. It's Brentford and then it's Man City. Then after that, you've got another row of fixtures. Fulham, Sheffield United and Crystal Palace. Then they've got Man United, which they're all over the place. So, I mean, maybe they'll change by then. But I can see 6 good fixtures coming up in the next 8 game weeks. So, definitely get on Trent Alexander-Arnold, particularly for the next 3 fixtures anyway. Looks incredible, so he's differential, go for it, and that's my recommendation anyway. Then lastly, Matty Cash. I mean, this guy, like I was saying earlier about the price rises, he is now 5 million. He was 4.5 at the start of the game. He is now 5 million, 31% owned, and he's still got a load of fixtures coming up that look great. West Ham next, a little tough obviously. Luton, Forest, Fulham. I mean, feels like all these teams I've got so far are playing the same guys. So yeah, great set of fixtures for him coming up. If you don't want to go for him, I get it. There is obviously Luca Digne on the other side who's similar. But you got the issue of when Alex Moreno are going to be back. That's the only problem. And yeah, you could go for their centre-halves, but who wants to go for a centre-half? You want to go for a wing-back who's going to get you something. So yeah, obviously that's why I'll go for Matty Cash. And then on the bench, I mean, I know I just mentioned about centre-halves who will go for him, but I do have Gabriel on here. Now, you could go for Zinchenko, but I feel like he's still a minute's risk. I think he could get dropped out of that normal back four for Arsenal. Zinchenko's the weakest one, in my opinion. So I've got Gabriel, just because obviously he's now 0.5 cheaper than Saliba. Both of them are starting centre-halves for Arsenal. Obviously, Gabriel had that little issue at the start of the season where he wasn't starting the first 3 games, but since then he's been starting. Looks like Arteta sorted himself out now at the back again. Realised he made some wrong decisions. So yeah, he does have obviously Chelsea in game week 9, which is why I put him on the bench. Now I know Chelsea aren't the best, but this one is obviously at Stamford Bridge, so I'm giving Chelsea probably the benefit of the doubt. They'll play a bit better. It is a derby game as well. But for sure, game week 10, you're going to want to put him in your team. Sheffield United at home. It's pretty much a guaranteed clean sheet there. And I know game week 11 is tough against Newcastle. Then 12, they've got Burnley. 13 is Brentford. 14, Wolves. And then 15, they've got Luton. So they've got good fixtures coming up. A couple of tough ones in between. But that's why I've got him on. You can rotate this guy. He's going to start for you week in, week out anyway. 4.7 mil for a guy that's in a team that's challenging for the Premier League. It's just a no-brainer. So that's why I got, obviously, Gabriel in the team. And then finally, I went for Tyreek Mitchell of Crystal Palace. Now, a lot of people are going for Anderson right now. He is decent. And obviously, he's got 2 goals to his name this season. But I don't see why you wouldn't want to go for Tyreek Mitchell. I mean, I would say he's a wing-back. He's a left-back, basically. He's got 1 assist this season, where obviously Anderson's got 2 goals. So there is a big difference there. But obviously, Anderson's getting close to the 5 million price, whereas Tyreek Mitchell was just slapped to that 4.5 million mark. So he's bare cheap. They've done quite well this season in terms of clean sheets. So last 3 games they've had clean sheets. So if you had him in the last 3 games, you would have had about 18 or 17 points. I think he got a yellow card in one of those games. So they've actually done pretty well in the last 3 games. Going under the radar, to be fair. Now, he is on the bench, and he will be on the bench for the next 2 games if you do have a Crystal Palace defender. Because obviously they've got Newcastle and Spurs in the next 2 game weeks. But then after that, 11, 12, 13, it's Burnley, Everton, Luton. 14's a bit tougher against West Ham, and then 15's Bournemouth. So they've got good fixtures coming up after game week 10. He's cheap. I think he'll have a good run of fixtures between 11 and 15. So I'd put him in my team then. So it makes sense. He started every game. He's played 90 minutes every game. It's a no-brainer. So that's why I've gone for Tyreek Mitchell in this team. And to be fair, that's a pretty decent looking defence, I've got to say. So then onto the midfield now. And as you can see, the big exclusion is no Son. Now, the reason why I've gone for no Son, and no, it is not because I had him as captain in game week 8 where he blanked one off early. Honestly, it's not. The reason why is because Spurs' fixtures long term are not exactly the best. When you look at it long term, obviously game week 9 is nice. It's Fulham at home. Game week 10 you could say is decent, but Palace, they're decent defensively. Chelsea, yes, they've not been great, but defensively they've been quite decent. And yeah, Fulham's nice, but then after that, it's a horrible set of fixtures for Spurs. So that's why I think it's best just to go for 1 midfielder rather than 2. And I'd rather have Maddison because he's much cheaper than Son. Son's been carrying an injury now for quite a while, so it's only a matter of time before he probably has like 3 or 4 game weeks out. So that's why I'd rather have Maddison. And like I said, it is a big price difference. Now, if you do want to obviously go for both of them, I'd definitely recommend just go in earlier. Because at this rate, if they do have a good game week 9 fixture, or a result against Fulham anyway, Maddison could go up to like 8.3, 8.4, and Son could go up to like 9.7, 9.8, and you could get outpriced. So definitely go on them earlier if you want, but for me personally, I think it's better just to go for 1 rather than both. I've also got Mo Salah in here. Now, if you see my team last week, you'll see that I didn't pick Mo Salah, and I regret it massively. 2 goals and 2 bonus points in like basically the first half against Brighton. Absolutely sunk me. And I really wish I had him in my team, but I've got to stick with that decision. But if I was to wildcard today, he'll be the first name on the team sheet. That is for sure. The next 3 fixtures for Mo Salah are incredible. Let's face it. The 2 fixtures are at home, Everton and Forest, and then Luton away. I mean, I'm worried. I'm really worried, to be fair. As a non-Salah owner, I think he's going to absolutely destroy me in the next 3 weeks, personally. So that's why I definitely recommend, if you don't have him, get him in your team. So I think he's going to absolutely smash it. He's still only 12.6. Now, I say only because he's only gone up 0.1 in terms of price rise. So you've still got a chance there of getting him before it goes up again. So definitely recommend going for Mo Salah. I've also got here Anthony Gordon. Now, he should be fit and fresh, obviously after coming from that 1 game suspension with the yellow card. So at least you got that off your head now with no yellow cards to his name. He's got Palace and Wolves next 2 games, which is decent. Arsenal's a bit tougher than Bournemouth is in game week 12. And he's obviously 5.6 million. So out of all the midfielders, he's probably be more of your bench option most game weeks. Obviously, he is starting for me if I was to pick this team because out of the 5 midfielders, he doesn't have the worst fixture. So that's why he would be in the starting lineup. And he doesn't have, obviously, Harvey Barnes competition-wise because he's out for like 3 or 4 months. So minutes-wise, they look good for Anthony Gordon long-term. So I think he'd be a great shout-out. And obviously, he has done well this season, to be fair to him as well. So obviously, he smashed it against Sheffield United, got the goal and the assist after that demolition. He did alright, obviously, against Burnley, got an assist there. So he was doing pretty well before, obviously, the suspension. So I'd definitely get Anthony Gordon in my team if I was to pick today. I didn't have him in my team last week because, obviously, the suspension. So he's somebody I'd think about maybe long-term wise. But at the minute, I don't have him. But if I was to pick my team today, I would for sure have him. And then my other player I would have starting, Jared Bowen. Now, he did blank in the last game week, but I think obviously Newcastle, that's understandable. It's a tough fixture, even though they did score 2 goals. So if you were a Bowen owner last week, you probably would be disappointed. But long term, it looks good for him. So yes, Aston Villa's next game, that is going to be tough, let's face it. But then after that, Everton at home's nice. Yes, Brentford's tough, but then Forest, Burnley, Palace. Spurs is going to be tough, but Fulham, Wolves, great run of fixtures there for West Ham. And I feel like we've got the Jared Bowen of a couple of seasons ago now. Last season was a tough season for him, but this season I feel like he's done really well so far. He's got several goals, got assists. He's looked great for West Ham. He plays well as a striker when he's had to, cause when Anthony comes off. He looks great this season. Fixtures look good. So he's somebody I don't have in my team yet, but for sure I'm definitely looking at putting him in my team in the next few game weeks. Not this week's. Aston Villa is a little tough, but game week 10 is a great fixture for him, and I think he'll absolutely kill it in the future. And then finally on the bench here, I've got Mitoma. Now, obviously, he has been flagged up with it says fatigue, but either way, like I've done here, he is on my bench because it's a tough fixture for Brighton in game week 9. Man City away, tough fixture you can get. So that's why I'd have him on the bench. So by the time game week 10 comes around, I think you'll be absolutely fine. Or he will be absolutely fine. And then that's when obviously Brighton's fixtures are amazing. So you got Fulham, Everton, Sheffield United and Nottingham Forest the next 4 game weeks afterwards. Obviously, a lot of people have an Espinan in that team for game week 10 onwards, but he's out injured for a while. So otherwise, I would have doubled up on Brighton by now. But yeah, out of all the players that I'd fancy for Brighton, he's the one guy. He's the best chance of playing. Solly March is a shout, but he seems to be getting dropped in terms of Premier League games and he's playing more Europa League. But Mitoma, he's definitely more of your starting player to have. And if you remember against Bournemouth, he didn't start in that game, came on at half-time and scored 2 goals. So even if he's on the bench, there is a good chance for him to come on and still score goals. So yeah, out of the Brighton players, he's probably my favourite player to go for. And he's still quite cheap, he's about 6.6 million. So that is the midfield. And I think that is a cracking set of midfielders. Strong midfield, there's no weak point there at all. So pretty decent to be fair, I'd say. And finally then onto the strikers. Now, as you can see, the big exclusion I've got on here is no Erling Haaland in this team. So if I was to wildcard today, I would take Erling Haaland out of my team and replace him with Alvarez. Now, the reason why, and there's several reasons why I feel like you can now go without Erling Haaland. First up is, he's not even the highest points earner in forwards, which obviously it's not the best reason, but it's just, obviously the price difference compared to the other strikers in him, he's not the highest points earner, that's Ollie Watkins. Second of all, Alvarez is 7 million, Haaland's 14. That's a 7 million point difference. That is huge. Erling Haaland only has 7 more points than Alvarez this season. It's not worth the price gap at all. It's not worth it. You can put that 7 million in the rest of your team and make it look a lot better. So that's another reason. And the third reason is Man City's fixtures are not exactly the best coming up. So they've got Brighton in game week 9. Now that could go either way. Brighton do give Man City a good game. So it'd be interesting to see how that one goes. Man United, that could go either way. They could batter Man United, or Man United could somehow come away with a win. Obviously, Bournemouth's a nice fixture, but then after that, it's Chelsea, Liverpool, Spurs, and Aston Villa all the way up to game week 15. And then you're looking at game week 18 being a blank as well. Is it worth having Erling Haaland? No, I don't think so. I think this season now, you can have Mo Salah and not Erling Haaland. And then eventually, when the time comes, you can switch it round. So that's why I feel like now is the best time really just to get rid of Erling Haaland. And I kind of wish I did. Now, I could still do that in my team, but I'm hesitant. Because obviously, Mo Salah made me eat my words. Erling Haaland could easily make me eat my words by scoring back-to-back hat-tricks. He could easily score 3 hat-tricks in 3 games. So I am a bit hesitant, but if I was to obviously wildcard today, I'd take him out. I've also got obviously Ollie Watkins, who is the highest points earner in terms of forwards, which was actually a surprise when I found that out. But I can understand why. The guy's consistently getting assists, and obviously he got that hat-trick as well. So he's always getting your points. He got an assist in the last game against Wolves, which I thought he was going to score in, to be fair, but he didn't. But you look at the fixtures coming up, like I mentioned before, West Ham's tough, but it's at home. Then they've got Fulham. I was going to say Fulham. It's not Fulham. They've got Luton at home, Forest away. Then they've got Fulham. Obviously, Spurs are going to be tough. Then after that, it's Bournemouth. So you've got Ollie Watkins on a good run to game week 14. I think he's going to absolutely kill it. Aston Villa look really, really deadly this season. So Ollie Watkins, I feel like at the minute is a bit of a must in your team as well as. And then finally, I've gone for Darwin Núñez of Liverpool. Now this is a massive gamble, obviously, because you just don't know if Darwin's going to start or not. But, you know, he just played 90 minutes against Brighton, which is obviously a tough game. And I know, obviously, Gakpo with the injury, Jota with the suspension, that's why he played the full 19. Obviously, Liverpool didn't have options. But, you know, the fixtures coming up, you may as well just go for the gamble. Because if you're going for a team like I have here, you've got strength in depth anyway. So I feel like you can comfortably, well, I say comfortably, you may as well just go for the gamble. I mean, I know quite a few people are now, that's why he's 12.5% owned. But the fixtures are just too good to ignore. Having 2 home fixtures at Anfield, then going away to Luton. I feel like if you want to gamble on Darwin Núñez, gamble him on the next 3 game weeks. If it doesn't work out, it doesn't work out. So then you'd know for the next 3 good run fixtures, I got him Fulham, Sheffield and Crystal Palace. You know, just get rid of him and get a different striker in. But I feel like it's kind of worth it this season. He has actually scored some goals this season. He's looked better this season than he did last season. He seems to be getting the goals in this time rather than missing like every chance. So I feel like it is worth going for Darwin Núñez. So that's who I'd go for if I was the wild card. It is a gamble, Darwin, because of minutes, but I feel like it's probably worth the gamble if I'm being honest. So that is it for this video. That is the team that I will go for if I was the wildcard in game week 9. Let me know what you think of this team, what you think is bad about it or good. And if you are going to wildcard this game week, please don't forget to subscribe. Oh, and also don't forget to like this video. And I'll see you all on the next one.